the way the threesome was set up is like, he went in the bathroom. You could tell before he went in the bathroom, he was like scoping the scenery out. He's like, oh, are there cameras in here? Mind you, there were. Not in the bathroom, but you're looking at it from like, you're looking at the bedroom and you see the bathroom. So the two girls are in there. He goes in there. You can hear what he's saying. He's just like, oh, I like to watch before I indulge. Like, it was just cringy. Mind you, not only are you hearing them say stuff, but you can hear sounds. And you know how the caption the sounds?
Moaning.
Rhythmic wet slapping. That's what it says. Rhythmic wet slapping.
Oh my God.
And Shantae was over there watching it like, the way that she tried to convince herself that like, oh, maybe he just washed or something like that. Mind you, the footage shows that this happened at night. They didn't come out until the next morning.
The bathroom?
Yes, girl. And he's like, oh, wow, like the sun's up, the birds are chirping. The girl's like, wait, what, huh? Like, it can't be that much time. They was in there. And mind you, when she opened the door, he opens the door and one of the girls is there and you see her whole backside, like she's naked. So it's like, girl, you heard rhythmic wet slapping and thought he was just watching? What are you talking about? So, yeah, mind you, everybody was feeling...
My mouth is a gate. I'm Nani.
And I'm Ant.
Join us on Law and Order as we unpack the hottest topics, trending lawsuits, and media buzz.
Take a listen as we cut through the noise to reveal fact and what's really going on.
Tune in for sharp insights and a fresh take on today's stories. Follow us everywhere for your dose of lore. Lore. Lure. Okay, well, that's just me today. I'm tongue-tied today because that was the second time we had to do that. And that's just going to stay like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad.
It'll look good in the compilation.
Yeah. Lure. Okay. Welcome back to another episode of Law and Order.
Hey, y'all.
Thank you for returning. We have a lot of returning viewers.
Yes.
We appreciate
Thank
you all
for coming back. Remember to like the videos.
Like the video, comment. I think I responded to a couple of comments that we had.
Okay.
So yeah, comment. We talk back. Follow us on Instagram. We talk back.
Speaking of talking back.
Mm-hmm. We got some questions.
Yeah, we got some new questions that we're gonna answer today.
We got some good questions.
Yeah.
This is a really interesting question.
The first one is, what is a hill you're willing to die on?
My hill that I will roll over and die on. Harriet Tubman is the baddest bitch to ever exist. Ever. Like, I really don't think it don't get no better than Harriet Tubman. Like, she was a real one. She was really just like, she bumped her head and God was like, I got you from here. I'm going to give you these special visions and you go free all the niggas. In a dress. Mm-hmm. In a dress, in a corset. My girl was killing it. She freed 700 slaves in a day.
And see, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
like, I was thinking it was overtime kind of thing.
No, she's freed more than 700 slaves, but most of them were freed during the Combahee River raid in South Carolina, which is a military mission that she led. She had a plan. She worked as a spy to get onto the plantations and said, "Hey y'all, be coming, be ready." And then she went back, and then using the Combahee River system, they lit fire to the plantations, all of the plantations that were like on the river, and freed 700 slaves.
I feel like teachers don't do a good enough job explaining like Harriet Tubman, because all they'll tell you is like Underground Railroad, she freed the slaves and leave it at that. Mm-hmm. That's why I will admit I was one of those people that thought it was an actual railroad, because if you just tell me she freed the slaves, the Underground Railroad, children
I'm thinking it's a subway
literal.
System.
Yeah, like children are very literal. Like, so you really have to explain that to them. So I don't think y'all should be clowning people for that, because yes, I did think it was a railroad. Yes, I did think she was punching babies when she was knocking them out.
At what point did you realize that it wasn't an actual railroad?
I would say like within the last 3 years.
For real?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's the kind of thing where like it happened, you learn about it, whatever. Mind you, I learned about it every single year I was in school, because going to all black schools. But nobody ever took the time to just say that. So it's like, I knew what I learned and I never thought about it again. Mm-hmm. So when the idea came that's now an actual railroad, I was like, wait, what? So it's like, it just wasn't presented. I feel like it's very easy to like go your whole life believing something you believed as a kid if it like rarely comes up again.
I remember thinking that it was a train as a kid, and it was like an episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta, and Portia was like, "Oh, where's the train?" And it was like, "Girl, ain't no train." I was like, "Oh, it wasn't a train." So then I actually did a whole bunch of research on like the Underground Railroad in like certain places, and I even like toured. I even like, I guess I like kind of created a scavenger hunt for myself and like found sites in DC that were a part of the Underground Railroad, and there is a cemetery, and it's somewhere between like DuPont and Georgetown, somewhere around in that area, and the cemetery was used as a part of the Underground Railroad.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I just think that Harriet Tubman is one of the baddest bitches that ever existed, and like every time I'm in the gym, I'm just like, ugh, I could never be Harriet Tubman. And if I ever needed to like go with her in the middle of the night, she might have shot me, because I'd be like, damn, I can't do this. Like, we are not our ancestors.
It's like that drive, like you, like the fear to just put fear. Not, we don't even know what was going through her mind at that time. It's just like, damn.
And I don't think people realize how like crazy and just treacherous the South is. Not because of like slavery and like racism, but just because of like the elements of the nature. Like, they were literally wading in water that had crocodiles and alligators in them. Like, when I be thinking about that, I'm like, oh my God, I would never
and that was better than slavery.
I would never get. I think it's called like the St. John River that's in Florida, and it like you literally, that's all you see in the water is alligators. I'm just like, I can't imagine our ancestors like needing to wash off their scent and going into water in the dark. You can't see. There's no street lights.
There's no lights.
There's no street lights. All you got is the moonlight. You can hear everything going on in the background. You just gotta go.
And they trying to take this information out of schools.
Right. And then it's crazy. Like the actual lore of like the Underground Railroad is the fact that like you thinking the only thing that you know about white people is that like they are your enslavers. So now you have to go into these white people's houses, in their basements, under the floorboards, in their walls, just hoping that they just fuck with you enough just to like, just let me get by through the next 2-3 days in your wall, under your floor. Like, please. Yeah. You just have to trust them and just wait for the next person to come and get you, or wait for the next like transport system to open up. Like, that shit is, oh God,
that's so crazy to think about it.
But then the fact that Harriet Tubman freed herself and came back to do all of that for other people is just...
Because a bunch of y'all Negroes that would have just left.
Oh, my God. Some of you niggas would have snitched.
Yes, like, definitely. Immediately.
Oh, okay.
NASA? That would have been y'all.
Okay, what's one you're willing to die on?
Okay, so this is probably like a very controversial take. But there are discussions around like... I think it was like this week when they were talking about that woman who's 26 years old and she has like six children and stuff like that. So my take is that if you're like hella poor, you should not be having a whole bunch of kids. And I know that people like hear those kind of things and they're like, oh, you're talking about eugenics and you're talking about this and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I feel like those people with those takes are never people who were raised in that situation. I have a bunch of siblings. We grew up not having nothing and it was very hard.
How many siblings?
I have 7 siblings. Like, I'm one of 8, but the first 6 of us like grew up together. Like, the first 5 of us are very close in age, and then like the youngest one, like my mother and father has 6 children together, and my father has 2 younger ones. But like when we were younger, like it was very hard and rough times. So when I see that, and when I see people saying like, oh, you can't tell them to stop having kids, da 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 da, and it's like, but y'all are never
the children of that situation.
Or the children of the situation. You don't know how hard and horrible it is. And like, not every child grows up to like go to college and become an attorney and do all these things. Like, some people stay in those situations. So it's like, I feel like trying to tell somebody that like, oh, maybe you shouldn't be having a bunch of kids if you can't afford them isn't the worst thing in the world. It's like, of course, there are some people who like eugenics play a factor in things and all that other stuff. 2 things can be true at the same time. But I also think like, I think bringing children into the world is like inherently selfish. And I'm saying this as somebody who like wants to have kids. It's inherently selfish.
Children don't ask to be born.
Exactly. I think even when it was that one lady, who was like, she had 3 kids, the 3 baby daddies, and they weren't helping her. And the last dude, like, was tracking her ovulation, like trying to get her pregnant.
Oh,
yeah, that kind of thing. And she ended up having a baby. She like went to Planned Parenthood to like get an abortion, but then she was like, oh no, I couldn't do this because like her religion. And I'm like, that's just a very selfish decision. Like, you are choosing your own morality or what you think is right and wrong over the reality of you can't take care of another kid, and you're bringing this child into a horrible situation just because you don't want to feel like you did something bad, punishable, that God would punish. But at the same time, you having sex outside of marriage, so
right, you already
like,
fucked up.
Yeah, so I just don't think you should just be having a whole bunch of kids. And I'm not saying like,
were your parents young?
Yes, like my father was 17 and my mother was 20 when my older brother was born. And my older brother, just to give you an idea of how close we are in age, my older brother is 29. My older sister is 28. I am 27. My younger sister is 25. My little brother is...
He's 23.
He's 23. And then there's a gap, and my sister now, she's turning 18 next week, but she's 17 right now. So the first of us back to back. Mind you, my older brother and my older sister are 10 months apart. So it's like, we were all young. We were all young at one time, and it was just a lot. My parents were very young, and my mother was in college, had to drop out. Like, it was just a whole bunch of, it was just a lot. And growing up like that was just hard. It was very hard. Like, I couldn't wait to grow up and go to college and like make a new life for myself and all the other stuff. But like,
that's also not a lot of people's,
Exactly,
circumstance. And like what you were talking about earlier, where you were saying like people think that, oh, like that struggle in life is sometimes like needed. Like we have this whole like pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentality that like, American.
And like some people need that to encourage their grind, and it's like,
that's not always the case. That's not always the story.
People who are successful that never had to struggle a day in their life. Like, yeah.
Or at least came from like a middle class background.
Yeah.
They weren't super rich, but they weren't super poor. And we only hear about like stories where like people are like, single moms that barely could get by, and it's like, oh look, you can be poor and then like have kids and they can be great and then they can take care of you. But like, that's not always the case. A lot of people, sometimes poverty is really hard to escape. So like telling people that they need to have like 6 kids or like calling it eugenics is kind of like...
Yeah, I remember there would be like in between times where we didn't have like money for food. So we would have to like literally go into like the cabinets and see what like canned stuff was left. You know how many times I ate canned lima beans? The canned corn, I ain't have a problem with it. I love corn. But yeah, no, like, it was crazy.
Looking at the definition of eugenics is a set of beliefs and practices that aim to improve the genetic quality of a human population. So just if anybody needed the actual definition for it.
I'm also not saying like you can never have kids.
Yeah.
Maybe try to get in a better situation before you just have a
Or
bunch.
just go on birth control. Like, no one said, like, we're not saying, like, you can't have kids or, like, you can't be young and have kids or you have to stop at, like, a certain point. But just, well, at least, like,
preventative measures.
Okay, another hill that I'm willing to die on is that Tyler Perry is the modern-day Shakespeare. And it's not because, like, oh, I just think that Tyler Perry is just so great and so wonderful. But Shakespeare, what he was in that world, in that space back then, he was like a low-level, like, theater producer. Like, he wasn't somebody that, like, everybody was going... Well, he was someone that poor people were going to.
Yeah.
Like,
people respected him more after he died, right?
Yeah, he was... accessible to the public, and that's why we know so much about Shakespeare. That's why we know so many of his plays, because he was able to reach such a wide audience. And I will argue the same thing of Tyler Perry. Like, he puts out all of these like projects. Yeah. We always say they're bad, but like when we look at like a director, or we look at like who has like the most projects, most shows, most movies, whether they're good or bad, like we might just be looking back on Tyler Perry, and of course we're gonna see Medea and Diary of a Mad Black Woman, like just
Family Reunion.
Yeah, and it's kind of like Shakespeare, when you actually look at like Shakespearean plays, it's kind of like, what is this actually about? Like, what is this? Like
Like,
I
what is
will.
going on right now?
Shakespeare, was that Romeo and Juliet?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I hated reading that.
screaming.
Like I hated, like, cause I mean, I say this all the time. He was a pedophile, and they were both idiots.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was like a 30-year-old man. They were like 14.
Yeah,
she was like 14, 15.
I thought he was like 20 something.
No, they were old. Well, he was old because usually around that time, that's what it is. And like she was young, and like they were so stupid.
Yeah,
they were stupid. They were star-crossed lovers. No, they were idiots.
The movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, I like that rendition of Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah,
but then like you're saying about Tyler Perry, I think Tyler Perry has made like so many Black people money. But that's whenever I think about that, I'm just like, at what cost?
At what cost?
Because you signed up to do this like crazy thing on camera. I guess it's kind of like Baddies, but I don't know if they really making money off of that for real.
What?
The people that's on Baddies.
Oh yeah, they making hella money.
They make
more money. They make more money than the Housewives.
They make all of them.
Well, I'm sure some of the Housewives get paid like up to like 6 figures per episode, but like those girls coming in and like the amount of things that they get for like trips and like pay, like they're getting close to like 5 figures an episode just like being on camera. Those girls are paid.
Okay, well,
because as a matter of fact, Nene Leakes has been on Baddies. She's done the reunion shows and she's appeared on an episode. They pay very, very well.
Oh wow!
But it it's unfortunate.
At what cost?
At what
cost? Fighting.
Literally at what cost?
Oh my gosh! So that's what I think about when I think about Tyler Perry, because it's just like the older stuff. We was watching them plays. We was watching them. The Medea movies and stuff like that. But then I feel like it's just gotten crazy as it's got older. Have you seen Sisters? Is that about him? I hate that show so much.
Oh my God, it's so bad.
My sister was watching it while she was like braiding my hair one time, and that's the only thing that we watched for hours. And I was like, please turn this off.
Because he drags out the dialogue for so long.
It will be 10 episodes, and it'll be like one day.
Same conversation.
I'm like, what is going on? It's the same day.
Like, I think he doesn't even have a script. He just tells him to go.
Yeah.
But I always had I didn't always have this theory, but like I read the book A Spook Who Sat Next to the Door. You ever heard that book?
No.
It's about a CIA agent who, you know, he's a Black CIA agent, and for like the longest time his community saw him as like a coon, like, oh, you working for the CIA, you working for them people. But like he ended up like really coming up on the ranks in the CIA, and then I think he left or he got fired or he resigned or something like that, and he decided to take everything that he learned about the CIA, all of his like tactical training, and he took it back to his community, and like he took all of the YNs, right, like young, like delinquent young men, and he trained them up to become like these operatives and pretty much like take over like the city and things like that. When Tyler Perry, like when he does all of this, but he tried to buy back BET, and I was like, well, maybe he's just like,
maybe he got planned.
Yeah, maybe he's just kind of like throwing his people under the bus to kind of like eventually at some point like lift them up. Because I'm like, at the rate that he pays people, and you know, like he has, I think somebody called him out once, and then he had a meeting with them, and they were like, oh, okay, never mind, I get it. I'll never like talk bad about Tyler Perry again.
Isn't he Blue Ivy's godfather? Oh no, he's the Charles and Meghan. Their baby, okay. I keep that. He's somebody's godfather.
See, that's so interesting. Like what he did for them, I'm like, damn. Like sometimes I'm like, damn, Tyler Perry. I just don't understand. Like I can't really gauge him.
Get it, but maybe you know.
Like I can't really gauge him because I'm like the way that he really helped that family out. That's amazing. Like he just told them like, yeah, stay in my mansion. Like get away from the crown and come and stay in my mansion. And then like the way that he's helped so many Black people out. But, like, the way that he speaks about Black women and obviously how he depicts them in his movies, like, you know, he was dating one of the girls from Sisters, what's her name? Karen, I think? I don't know. But he was dating one of the girls from there. Like, she started off as a hairstylist. And, like, he had a couple conversations with her on her podcast, and it was real. I hate Black women.
So, your take. I have another hill I'm willing to die on.
Okay, let's die on it.
Segregation. Was it really so wrong? No, but I'm serious. But like how it was done, yes. But I do believe that there are spaces that are just for like black people or like other people of color where like you don't enter. And I feel like us trying to like integrate everything has gone too far. And I've talked about this before, but I really don't like it when it comes to Greek life. Like, I'm Greek. And I'm just like, bro, I saw a video where this girl crossed into like a different org and she wasn't black, but she was a legacy and her mother wasn't black. So it's just like, that exists now because of integration. Legacies of non-black, black Greek letter org people.
She is Zeta.
Yes. Remember, it was a whole line. It was like a line of 3 and none of them were black. I remember that. And I'm like, bro, you also, when I say this all the time, what if a non-black person ran for like the top position of that org, like national president or Grand Basilius, whatever y'all got. And people response to that is like, oh, they wouldn't do that. How do you know that? Why would you allow somebody to be in your organization that you can't see eventually becoming the head of it one day? Like, I feel like that needs to be part of the standard for selecting people. And it's just like, somebody pointed out one time that like they never see non-black alumni members. Like, once they graduate college, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang. I feel like that's true.
I went to a HBCU, so I only remember seeing like 2 white people, and I think one was a football player and one was like lacrosse or something like that. But I know in Coppin, their Miss Coppin one year was white, and Coppin is a HBCU, and
what,
girl, you don't remember that? Twitter was lit up.
I've never seen that.
Oh, girl, HBCU Twitter was lit up. They destroyed Coppin. But what people don't know about Coppin is like, when people think about a HBCU in that area, they go to Morgan. A lot of people that go to Coppin, a good piece of their student population is Hispanic.
Oh, wow.
So I think she wasn't white, but she was Hispanic, and she was white Hispanic. She wasn't Afro Latina. So it was just kind of, everybody was like, ooh, because they had their pageant, you know, like all of the misses and misters from all of the HBCUs, they have like their big pageant or whatever, and she was there, and everybody was like, who is that?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's what I'm talking about. Like that, the idea that could happen, because I think there was an HBCU where it's like their valedictorian was like a white dude. Yeah, I heard about that, and I'm just like, this should have never been able to happen. But my last hill I wanted to die on is, I told myself, and I said, one of my New Year's resolutions, 2025, I am no longer feeling sorry for bird-brained women who mess with dudes that continuously dog them out. And like, you as a friend, not this is none of my friends, but as somebody that know them, you like trying to reach out, you're trying to encourage them, you're trying to da 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 da, and it's like, no, she wants to be there. Like, there's the Temptation Island stuff is going around, like Breon and Shantae, and I could tell, like, Breon, horrible dude, horrible, like he is the epitome of like a terrible dude. And so he's like, on the show, mind you, the concept of the show is 4 couples that go on Temptation Island. The women all stay in a villa. The guys all stay in the villa. While they're staying at the villa, there are 12 temptresses, male and female, or women in the men's villa.
Quarter,
yeah, whatever. Vice versa. And they're supposed to test their relationship by saying like, oh, can you succumb to temptation? Immediately, yes. That dude, Breon, you could tell from the beginning, like when he was first introducing him, he was like, yeah, we met in church and she was in my bed later that night. And she was like, you could tell she's like, why would you say that?
Whoa.
Yes. And so mind you, he's talking about, yeah, we aren't like, they're kind of not compatible because he just loves sex. He's very sexual. She's not sexual. And he was talking about threesomes from the jump. Spoiler alert. He ends up having a threesome on there. Mind you, they're recording everything. So every few days.
They watched him, right?
Yes, every few days, the host Mark's a great guy. The host Mark takes each of the like guys and the women, and they'll like watch a snippet of what their partner has been up to and see what's going on. So mind you, the way the threesome was set up is like, he went in the bathroom. You could tell before he went in the bathroom, he was like scoping the scenery out. He's like, oh, are there cameras in here? Mind you, there were. Not in the bathroom, but you're looking at it from like, you're looking at the bedroom and you see the bathroom. So the 2 girls are in there. He goes in there, you can hear what he's saying. He's just like, oh, I like to watch before I indulge. Like, it was just cringy. Mind you, not only are you hearing them say stuff, but you can hear sounds. And you know how the caption the sounds?
Moaning.
Rhythmic wet slapping. That's what it says. Rhythmic wet slapping.
Oh my God.
And Shantae was over there watching it like, the way that she tried to convince herself that like, oh, maybe he just washed or something like that. Mind you, the footage shows that this happened at night. They didn't come out until the next morning.
The bathroom?
Yes, girl. And he's like, oh, wow, like the sun's up, the birds are chirping. The girl's like, wait, what, huh? Like, it can't be that much time. They was in there. And mind you, when she opened the door, he opens the door and one of the girls is there and you see her whole backside, like she's naked. So it's like, girl, you heard rhythmic wet slapping and thought he was just watching? What are you talking about? So, yeah. Mind you, everybody was feeling...
My mouth is agape.
Yes, girl. Everybody was feeling sorry for the girl, but I could tell from the jump that she was like, wasn't a girl's girl because she was making comments about the girls there. Like one girl, she said it looked like she don't wear deodorant. And then when she would see the clips, she's kind of like, oh, if they want to do that with him and like he want to do that. And then Mark would be like, well, what about him? Like, let's focus on him. Mm-hmm. So I don't feel bad for her. Like, mind you, she would be crying in there. She was not messing with any of the other dudes. They had like a party one night. It's not like Love Island. Like, they actually be drinking on that show. Mm-hmm. And they were painting on each other's bodies. And she painted, I think, on herself or one of the guys. And it said, I love Breon. And everybody, like, she was just very boring. She didn't do anything. Didn't talk about it. She was just like him. And mind you, he would watch what she was doing, which was nothing. And he'd be like, oh, I'm glad she's, like, making friends because she's so attached to me to the hip. Mind you, he also would say, like, oh, are you worried about her seeing that you're doing this stuff? And he was like, no, I think she'll forgive me. What reason does she have not to? Like, that kind of stuff. So I'm just like, and she did. And spoiler alert.
Didn't she say something like, oh, because in the real world, he would never do something like this? And it's like, this is the real world. Right. This is real life. This is reality.
Life. And he's going to see it on TV.
On camera.
Not nationally.
Oh, yeah. Guys, this is not national television. What does it stream on?
It streams on Netflix.
So it's CCTV or CCT or OTT. I forgot the.
They were like, they cheat on you in front of national television. But I'm like, okay, the fact that they met in the church, I'm like, y'all can never go to that church again. Like, mind you, she would be in bed reading her Bible. And then, it was one segment of the show where like they put a tent out there and there were no cameras in the tent. So you could go in there with somebody, but the catch is, if you go in a tent, the other villa, a red light will blare. So everyone will know, oh, someone has gone in that tent. Mind you, the first time, I think one of the first times it happens, the tent goes off. The girl's in bed and she's crying. And another girl go in to check on her and she's like, it really can't be him. I just hope it's not him.
It was him.
No, because he did the stuff in his room, in his bedroom. He didn't go in the tent. But it was like...
He had the option to go in the tent, though?
Yes. But I think it was somebody already in there.
Oh.
But yes, he was talking about, oh my gosh, he was disgusting. But I say all that to say is...
Can't feel bad for dumb bitches.
You cannot. Because even people were on TikTok talking about, we all have been with a Breon. No, and it's like, no, we haven't. We haven't. Like, that level is crazy. And it was kind of wild because they're black. And...
That was wild.
No, okay, the thing is, he, like, from jump, you're kind of like, oh, this dude around all this. It's a whole bunch of, the temperatures are all racist. He only messed with black women.
Wait.
One of the girls he had threesome with wasn't black, but he will only go after the black women. So he dates black women. Okay. So then it's kind of like you're looking at it like, dang, we have our sayings about dudes that date not black women, but it's like, is this the kind of dude we want exclusively dating black women?
Oh my God.
That was like, I've been thinking about that. But yeah, that was crazy.
Oh my God. I was about to say something about that, but...
Go watch that show.
I remember there was
the
clip on Twitter that went viral of like Temptation Island, but like the Hispanic version.
Oh yeah, when he was like,
he was running on the beach, but I found out it was because he had did it first.
Yeah.
Good for them. But it's also like, for somebody to do that to you on television, on your television screen, you know they've done it behind your back.
Definitely.
You know they've done it behind your back.
Mind you, in the beginning, all the couples were talking about like their couple history or whatever. Mm-hmm. He left her for another woman, realized grass wasn't green on the other side, and went back to her, and she accepted it. He definitely be cheating on her because he was talking about how he messed with people in his friend group, how he it was just growth. Mind you, he would try to talk to the other girls there about their sex life. He was like, oh, like, yeah, it hurts her, like she can't really take it, da da da. But mind you, there were 2 black girls there that weren't with his BS. Because one girl, you could take people out on dates. He took her on a date and he was like massaging her, and she was she was saying like, you say you want this godly woman as your partner and all this other stuff, but you like freaked out. So how does that align itself? And you could tell he kind of was like not messing with her anymore because of that. Like people, like whenever it would be a woman, because a lot of women there found him weird. They would be like not mess with him, and you could just tell how it turns, how he's like not necessary. He's like kind of mean to them now. Because one girl was like, "Oh, I'm not trying to hear about all that," and he was like, she was like trying to leave and stuff, and he was like, that's what you're here for. Like I'm trying to open up to you and da da da, and that's what you're here for. And he left, and he was like, "Oh, people are so weird." All this other stuff. Like he's a weird dude. Yeah.
Okay. So we have another question, and it is about the Super Five. So if you are not familiar on TikTok, there are about 5 large creators who they don't make content like, oh, get ready with me. They don't do like, oh, come spend a day with me, or food content. They kind of just like pull out their phone and they just talk about certain topics. Now, I don't know who the 5 are. I definitely know who 2 are. Yeah. I don't know who the 5 are, but I know that like Mecca is one, Jamila is the other, and then I think that like the other 3 I'm just not sure about. Like I know people talk about like the Lexus girl, who I never see her. I never see any of her content. I only see her when they're trying to defend themselves on being like the Super 5 or whatever. But like, just a disclaimer, we are not a podcast that is going to be like talking about people or like,
like talking about people in a regard. Like if you're coming here to like get our commentary and like talking mess about people, that's not. Yeah,
we're not going to talk mess about them.
Yeah.
But like, as far as like, I do have an opinion on them. Or I have more so an opinion on people's reaction to them, because I feel like they are no different than just regular people. Like they have good opinions, they have bad opinions, but they say it out loud to a very large audience. So now you have this thing that's starting to come where it's just like, oh, now you're bullying people. But it's because like now they don't realize that like you are this content creator. You're not, I wouldn't coin you as a celebrity, but you are somewhat of a public figure. So like now you have to definitely have a little more discernment about what you say if you really care about people's opinion of you.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to what like they are and stuff like that, I don't have a comment on them as people.
Yeah.
I'm more so like in general when it comes to social media, I feel like people need to just be okay with like seeing, if you see something you don't agree with, just scroll past it.
Yeah.
Like people will get so angry at them for saying something that they're like, this was the worst take ever, this, and I feel like it also bleeds into like cancel culture and people wanting like redemption, like, or to see someone punished when they feel like they've had a bad take. And it's just like, if you don't just scroll past that video, like, yeah.
I don't really have a lot of like to say about them, especially as someone that like grew up on like Wendy Williams. I find myself being very indifferent towards them and like a lot of the things that they say, because I'm just like, I've heard worse. I've heard public figures, people who are public figures, say far worse things on bigger platforms.
Yeah.
So it's like
people who are in Congress,
they literally
like,
pull out their your
your
phone.
president has said worse things.
Yeah, they pull out their phone and they say these things, and it's just kind of like, okay, I'm just gonna scroll past it. I don't like it. Like I think the only one that I follow is Mecca, and I think I follow Mecca because like a lot of the times I only really see her telling her business, and like I know a lot of people they say that they are colorists. I
don't think that's true.
I feel like I've missed something.
I don't think people understand what colorism is. I feel like we talked about this before. Yeah. Like people will just say something. They're like, "This is colorist." Like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's
not. I don't know. I just think that like if they care about people, the public opinion of them, then they might want to have a little bit more discernment about the things they say and the things that they don't say. But at the same time, people are going to be upset regardless. But like, I don't think we need response videos to it. Because like if somebody does not like your take, You don't have to respond to it because now you are entering this world where your opinions are so accessible to the public. They are going to reach a large audience, and some people are not. And going
people
to
are
like
waiting
it.
to like.
People are
like,
waiting to dog.
like this person.
Yes, people
like,
are waiting to dogpile on you.
And it's like when those responses happen, I feel like there's never 100% like objective response. Like, oh, like what you said was wrong. No, like it be getting into their character. It be getting into like who they are. It's just like it didn't need to go there.
Yeah.
So honestly, I feel like when stuff happen and like that, I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna scroll past this too, because everybody has an opinion. Not everyone has good intentions. And it's like, at the end of the day, this is just a person sharing their opinion.
Okay, someone else that has been taking social media by storm, specifically TikTok, is a woman by the name of Toni Fine. She is Toni, it's called Fine Fitness or Fine Fitness or something like that. Toni Fine. You've probably seen clips of her on TikTok saying like really abusive, kind of like fat phobic language, like, oh, you're big back, and like, you know, the whole like big back.
She's really
rhetoric.
aggressive with it.
She's extremely aggressive with it. People have like really they don't like Toni and the things that she said. I personally don't like Toni because I think I heard that she was like a scammer a couple years ago.
That's how I feel like I was introduced to her. It was like the wedding, and then after the wedding, I remember she did something about the cost breakdown, and I remember once again just scrolling past the video because I was like, I feel like that was a lot of money for a wedding. Scroll past, and I feel like weeks later it was like her and her husband scam, whatever, and I was like, oh, but once again, because I'm not really interested in it, scrolled again.
Yeah, I don't know about how they make their money, but I know for a while I was just like, she had like pre-recorded lives on TikTok. Like I remember I've been seeing Toni since the pandemic, and she used to have like pre-recorded lives on TikTok. I don't know how people post pre-recorded lives on TikTok. I don't know how they do that. I don't know if they just put a screen up really close to the phone.
What is a pre-recorded live?
Like she was on live once, and then like now at 3:00 in the morning, whatever she was doing on that live is now like replaying.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know how people do. I didn't know that was a thing, but like you can still interact with the live as if it is new and like everything. And I was just kind of like, that's kind of too much. Like she's like really selling this like fitness plan as like, I don't know. It just gave like, oh, I'm feeding off of fat people or like bigger people or whatever like that.
Fat phobia.
Yeah, and it really got. She wasn't the rhetoric in the language that she uses now. She wasn't always doing that. She got pregnant, and then like people were just started leaving like absolutely ridiculous comments. So she started saying ridiculous things back, and then it went viral, and now that's what she does. And like a lot of times, people are really just like on those lives and just baiting her into like saying something funny. Like somebody was like, I'm not 100 pounds. What should I do? And she was just like, go pray to Jesus because you're going to meet him soon. Like it's things like that where it's just like, you're not 900 pounds. The person that commented that was probably not 900 pounds or something like that. But like a lot of the reaction to Toni has been that like, well, not a lot of the reaction. It was one woman who said, Toni uses like that fat phobic language because she didn't want to say it because she knew it was colorist. So she said at some point a woman more melanated than me needs to talk about the darker skinned women who make that type of content. And like she was liking certain comments and like people were making videos talking about it. And she was like leaving comments. So I kind of got a understanding of what she was trying to say, that because of where dark-skinned women are seen on a spectrum of masculinity and femininity, they need to like overcompensate for their standing, or they just are insecure about being dark-skinned, so they have to be fat phobic. And specifically when people were in her comments telling her this is kind of like this is kind of colorist because you're singling out dark-skinned women to say that they specifically have like this really sad intent behind their content. Like maybe Toni's just fat phobic because she's fat phobic, not because you're putting her on the spectrum of like close to masculinity or something like that. And like people were trying to tell her that, and then she then made a video saying, oh, the people in my comments are also pretty much also like grouping like dark-skinned women in her comments and saying like, oh, those women are also insecure. And it's just like, damn, people are really trying to tell you that you're being colorist the same way that you're trying to tell somebody that they're being fat phobic, and you're not listening. To the point where she then goes to make a video and says people are just mad that their fat phobia doesn't work on me because I'm pretty. Mind you, this woman is light skinned. She was just like, because I am pretty and I live a soft lifestyle and they don't live a soft lifestyle and they have to listen to abusive language in order to lose weight. Like, all of these things that you're saying just to target dark-skinned women is insane, because like dark-skinned women don't make up the majority of the people that make that type of content. Because she wasn't just talking about like Toni Fine. She was also talking about, there's a lady by the name of Ashley Dalton or Dawson who does like that hyperfeminism content. But like when I say hyperfeminism content, the first person that really comes to mind is Shira Seven, and that's a light-skinned woman. And then the other big creator in that atmosphere is a Southeast Asian woman. Like, dark-skinned women don't make up the majority of that type of content. So singling them out to say that the reason why they do it is because of on a spectrum where they stand next to masculinity is insane.
I'm really glad that you sent me that video, because I saw it on my timeline, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't spend too much time. I really didn't listen to it. So when she first said the first thing, I felt like I was confused, but I thought she was trying to say, I'm going to not talk about something because like I'm not dark skinned, so I can't relate to it, so I'm gonna save that for the dark skinned women.
Right.
And I was like, oh, she's saying that she need to shut up because she don't want to like white people get involved in like black people stuff. It's like, I don't have a place to speak on this, So I just liked it and kept scrolling. But then you sent it to me and you were like talking about it, and I was like, listen to it. I was like, oh my gosh, let me take this like that. Like.
Okay, but like just to make sure that I wasn't tripping, I did get in contact with one of my friends who is dark skinned and is plus size, and she informed me that like she thinks that her intention was that like it's only acceptable to be like plus size in like the public if you are light skinned. So she was like, I think that was her intention on like not speaking on it, or kind of saying the quiet part out loud, or something like that. But I was just like, yeah, but singling out dark skinned women when they don't make up the majority of that type of content is kind of like, this doesn't.
Yeah, that was really
and then
weird.
Continuing to double down when when dark skinned women are telling you, hey, this is colorist, and then being like, well, there's this spectrum of masculinity and femininity, and y'all are over here, and y'all are mad that like I am pretty and live a soft lifestyle. Okay, that's enough.
It's just like it feels like the bullied trying to bully.
But what's so funny about like Toni's plan, I actually had a physical copy of her 6-week diet plan, and like although like her social media presence has been extremely fat phobic, her diet plan gives a lot of grace to someone who might be like a binge eater. Because when I saw it and like I opened it up, I was like, oh, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this, because it's about like eating 5 times a day, and like the meals are like 5 different variations of cardboard. Like the meals, they don't taste very good. She comes from a standpoint of like fat weighs more than flavor. So like you don't need to be worrying about flavor for just 6 weeks. Just give me 6 weeks. Don't worry about flavor. So
it just sounds like making people have an aversion to food, because it's like, oh, like I eat for enjoyment and for nourishment, but I want the things that I eat to taste nice. And I like go to the gym and stuff like that, and I'll make sure like I'm getting my protein and things like that. But you have never seen what I'm able to do to a box of strawberry shortcake ice cream bars.
Yeah, but like we are not like fat or like binge eaters where like we have gained a lot of weight. Like even if I am someone that's binge eating, I can like lose the weight. I stay pretty active, or like I'm just not genetically exposed to be like, I have a fast metabolism. So like I'm not genetically disposed to be like super big. I can gain weight. I've gained plenty of weight over the years. But like if you are someone that is like a binge eater, like you have to continuously be eating, her standpoint is just like, I'm going to give you these nutritious meals. They may not taste good, but you'll be able to eat these meals 5 times a day.
I think at the end of the day, like Toni may just not be for some people, because some people like her approach of being like,
and some people like her diet
that.
plan too.
Yes, like, so, you know, maybe it's just like not people's cup of tea.
And what I will say is her presence on social media, even though, yes, some of the things that she says is fat phobic, if you listen, some of the things that she says is true. Like when somebody asked her about like, oh, like losing weight and looking like Lori Harvey, she was like, Lori Harvey is Lori Harvey. Yeah, and she was like, clip. But like, she made a comment specifically about Lori Harvey. She was like, don't get into the gym losing weight thinking that you are going to look like Lori Harvey, because she is Lori Harvey. And you are you, like you are going to most likely have stretch marks, and you're going to have a lot of things that Lori Harvey does not have, because you are already a bigger person. You rarely see someone going from being, you know, really plus size, really overweight to then looking like Lori Harvey. Not saying it's impossible, but don't expect it. Like, don't try to make that like your goal, because you'll be really disappointed in yourself when you don't get that.
The whole body goals thing in general is like messed up, because it's like you can't target where you lose weight. You can't like do all that stuff in control of your body. So you could like really frustrate yourself trying to be like, dang, I want to look like this, or I want to, you know, look like this.
Yeah, as someone that I have body dysmorphia, so I be like, ooh, me in the mirror, we be fighting each other. But like, yeah, you definitely can't pick and choose where you lose weight. And you also can't, like, I've definitely detached myself from like comparing myself to other people's bodies, more so just like comparing myself. Like my current goal is like my old self. So it's like I know what I'll look like, and I know that I can get there, rather than like somebody else that like does not have my genetics at all, because genetics absolutely do play a factor.
A lot.
The first place that I gain weight is my breast, and that's just because of that's like my father's. That's my father's side of the family. Like if you see me, you know I'm gaining weight. Like I remember like the last time that like I gained a bunch of weight, I went from like 125 to like 140 in a matter of like a month and a half, and my mom was like, "Girl, like, them yitties is like, what's going on right now?" I was like, girl, what is them? Yeah. And I remember somebody else was like, oh, your boobs are huge. And I was like, yeah, I just gained like 15 pounds. So yeah, this is primarily where they went. But yeah, you can't pick and choose where you lose weight, where you gain weight. So the whole body goals idea is really sad.
So in some of our previous podcasts, when we're talking about certain court cases that are coming out, and what the charges are and stuff like that, y'all will hear me say like, oh, first degree this or second degree this and blah 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 blah. So we want to take the time to like explain what like those degrees mean. And essentially, like in a legal context, first degree or second degree generally relates to or signifies the level, like the serious level of a crime. So first degree, most serious, is usually tied to like if there was premeditation, or if the person had intent to cause harm, while second degree is more so like, okay, you did the crime, but it indicates like it's less serious, especially when it comes to like, oh, recklessness, or you didn't have the intent to cause harm without premeditation. So like we were talking about before with like the Jonathan Majors case, it's like, oh, because he didn't intend on hurting her, then this is second degree assault or something like that, as opposed to, you know, assault, the same outcome happened, or like with murder, like at the end of the day, somebody's dead. It's different if you intended to murder them versus it happened when you were being like reckless.
What is the difference between like, because I know like, because now that you're saying second degree is like, you were being reckless, but you didn't have the intent. So what is it when it's like manslaughter? What's the difference between like second degree and manslaughter? Because isn't there also like third degree?
It depends on the state.
Okay. Because I always thought about manslaughter as like, oh, it was an accident, like almost like a complete freak accident. Because I know, not James Baldwin. We just talked about him last time. One of the famous Baldwin actors. He was charged with manslaughter because he was using a prop gun that shot a stunt double or something like that. But he was charged with manslaughter. But the whole accident in whole was like a complete accident because, like, you know, he was supposed to have the gun, but the gun just wasn't supposed to fire any shots or something like that.
Okay, so homicide is the overall umbrella term for what it is. Manslaughter is a type of homicide that involves an unlawful killing, but without the intent to kill or cause serious harm. So, and then there's voluntary manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter, murder in the first degree, murder in the second degree, all those things.
But there is no third degree.
Third degree murder is often characterized by a lack of intent to kill and a depraved heart or reckless disregard for human life. So it's a less severe form of homicide than first or second degree murder.
Like, what's an example of that?
Say this may be, is that a crazy example? Well, okay, say you are on a bounce house, jumping on a bounce house, and there are like kids there, and you're not like paying attention to the kids, so like you're bouncing and one of the kids falls off and dies. So it's like you didn't have the intent to kill them, and you just kind of like had a disregard kind of for their life.
I was trying to ask you a question about manslaughter, but I don't want anybody thinking I'm planning to kill somebody. Okay, Drake in the UMG case, you have an update for us?
So there has been an update. As y'all know, Drake was accusing UMG of defamation by essentially like allowing Kendrick Lamar's song, was it Not Like Us, Euphoria, whatever. His song.
All of them, I think. Or Not Like Us specifically.
Yeah, definitely Not Like Us. Claiming it spread a false and malicious narrative that he's like a pedophile and stuff, and that UMG was like pushing the song out. And so we're still in the pre-trial phase. So there's not like a trial schedule or anything like that. Drake basically asked for copies of like Kendrick Lamar's recording contract, as well as information on salaries and bonuses for senior executives at the record label, and so on and so on. So Universal Music Group, they filed a motion to dismiss the case last month, and they were calling it an illogical attempt to silence Kendrick Lamar's creative expression. And in their motion to dismiss, they also asked for a pause on the discovery process, which is essentially gathering evidence. Discovery is like a pre-trial process where parties in a lawsuit can exchange information and evidence to prepare for trial, including documents, witness testimonies, and other relevant materials. It's basically like me going to your office and be like, okay, give me the stuff that I would need for the case. So UMG was like, okay, like we don't like pause this and also dismiss the case, like so they're not getting discovery.
How much can they withhold? Are they allowed to withhold anything? Like if they can like go and say, hey, we need all of these things for trial, or do they have to say we need all of these things specifically for trial, or do they say give us what we need for the trial, and then the other party says, well, here, this is what I think you'll need for the trial, and they get to pick and choose? I
think it's kind of like an understanding of what they would need. Like they're saying the recording contract, like I think they're listing out like, okay, we need these things. You really cannot hold back. Like you have to give them what they're asking for. Like you could get in a lot of trouble if you don't. Like
withholding evidence, is that obstruction of justice?
No, because it's not in like a criminal sense, because this is like a civil trial. Yeah. But the update is that the court ruled that discovery should continue, so they have to exchange the documents and stuff like that. So we'll keep y'all updated on what's going on with that case, because it's it's getting pretty interesting. Will it go to a trial? Don't know. Depends on what they find. Depends on what arguments they try to make.
I feel like how far can this go? Like, what does he really think he's gonna find? I think because
Drake, if he sues them for defamation, they're gonna have to give him money. And I gotta look at the complaint again, because you ask for the damages you want to receive. In the complaint, because the whole thing about like damages, like whatever you're trying to get back, because sometimes it's not just money. It could be like you need to make an apology, you need to say this, it's all about making that person whole again. Like that's the whole concept of the damages, because it's like, oh, you did this and now I'm not whole, make me whole. Court, make sure they make me whole.
But what's interesting is that, like, I feel like a lot of this, I think this theory has been floating around that, like, the reason why Drake is kind of like so sure that there is some foul play on UMG's part is because he's had them in his back pocket for so long. Like, I don't care what no one says. I remember when my Apple Music replay came out and Drake was in like my top 3, and I was like, okay, I don't listen to Drake this much. And I was just like, I don't know, Apple Music UMG. I'm just like, I don't really listen to Drake this much, but he's in people's like, he's like hidden in people's like things, or you know, in the credits and stuff like that. But no, I'm really interested to see how far this goes. But when we're talking about defamation, if the false and defamatory statement is something about him being a pedophile, do they have to look at that to see if that's false?
The people that are being sued, so like the defendants, they would if they're trying to, that would be a defense that they use. They would have to say like, this isn't defamation because it's true. It's true. And it's true because he's a pedophile. And here is what I have to prove that he's a pedophile. So, yeah.
Could it also be a defense that this is something that was already being said on the internet before Kendrick Lamar said it?
Like it's not new?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. It could be something like
because Kendrick Lamar didn't introduce this to the public. This was already out there.
Exactly. But say it's like, it's because it's a big corporation. UMG is a big corporation, because a bunch of people talking on Twitter, just shouting out into the void might not be
public opinion.
Yeah, it might not be enough to do it. But you're like, oh, this music group, this credible, people view this as a credible establishment, and he's been backed up, and all this other stuff. It has hurt me, because you have, one of the important things to prove with defamation is that you have been harmed.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yes. And moving on to the next thing, I feel like people are going to think that I care about this subject so much, but I don't care about it in the sense of like the people, or I'm just really rooting for one side or the other. It is just a perfect example of how people on the internet don't check sources, and also a narrative can be created that's just like not true at all, and people just run with it. So once again, the Anthony Edwards thing, they're in like the past couple weeks, there was like a rumor spread that with his child, like in his court case with Aisha Howard, that's her name, right? That he told the judge that he's trying to pay all of the child support up front. I think it was like 216 payments or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like in my attorney mind, I was like, that's interesting. I wonder if a court would grant that. So I'm looking online for like any information, any sources. There's literally nothing. I think it all spawned from one tweet that a guy made. And then people were just running with it. Like there's no outlet that's saying like, oh, they got the documents like, they have before, or anything like that. Like there's no proof of that. So I'm like trying to look into it, because I'm like, oh, I wonder how that would go. Theoretically, you could do something like that. You could say, okay, I want to pay all of my child support up front. But what you cannot do is include in that contract, include some kind of like statement that says, okay, because I'm paying all of it up front, I don't have to owe any more money. Because it would be unlawful to like add something that basically doesn't allow modifications to be made for the child support. Because it's like, what if something happens? What if they need more money? What if, all of these what ifs? You couldn't, you still have to allow room for like the child support agreement to be modified if need be. So that's why I was trying to look into it, because I'm like, oh, I wonder what like stipulations they have with this, just for that stuff not to be true. Or I still haven't found like a source for it. And it's crazy because there are people online, like influencers and like people that you would think are credible, talking about it. I feel like
as if this is an actual headline, as if an article
it's true,
attached.
Yeah. And they're like giving their opinions and talking about it. I feel like this is an elevated degree of like the nigga hypotheticals that are on Twitter. They're like, oh, should your grandmother sit in the back seat while paying for dinner and da da da? Y'all are talking about stuff that's not true, and like hypothesizing about something that
never happened.
Exactly. So yeah, I just thought that was crazy. Like, oh my gosh.
I think it goes into media literacy a little bit. where we need to have room for jokes.
Yeah.
Somebody said it as a joke.
Yeah.
And then people took it and ran with it and decided to make headlines out of it. But this is why I stayed away from journalism as a career field, because like it's a loose cannon.
Yeah.
Anybody can be a journalist. You don't have to go to school to be a journalist. You don't have a duty to the public to like protect a truth or to spread a truthful narrative, an unbiased narrative. Like you can literally get on the internet, you can get an audience as wide as Oprah's, and you can say anything that you want to. You can be an absolute loose cannon, but there's ways to have freedom of speech, which like me, I will argue that like journalism should be something that is like, that is almost taken as seriously as like being a lawyer, where you have to like, you have to take specific courses on like learning that you have a duty to the public to like at least spread truthful narratives.
You have professional responsibility.
Yeah, that you have a professional responsibility, or that you have like that there is some.
We have a whole test that we have to take.
That there's some sort of ethics. I know that's what I'm saying. Like, because I know that for me, I had to take a legal, not an official legal course, but it was media law. I had to take media law and ethics. So I had to learn about like freedom of speech. I had to learn about like things like defamation. But it's like there's nothing that as a journalist that keeps you from being like a liar and an asshole.
Yeah.
Because like you remember when like the whole thing happened, the plane crash happened at DCA. There were reporters there within the next 30 minutes with the cameras in people's faces and microphones up to their face, asking them what happened. Mind you, they don't know if their family members have died yet. They literally don't know anything. All they know is that some young kid that is looking for his next big story is just sitting there in front of his face like a shark, and you're a minnow. And like when you go into journalism, you're taught to get the story. Yeah. Like just get the story no matter what. So like a lot of this is like people are just trying to get a story, create a story, get clicks, but they have no duty to the public or no responsibility to the public to just like be a truthful individual. So another topic we talked about last week, if you watched the full podcast episode on Spotify, we talked about blind trust. It was a really interesting conversation because usually for the most part our fields are pretty similar, but like they intersect a lot. But like in my field, I have room for like blind trust. So like I can trust someone or trust a source without knowing who they are, whereas Ant can't do the same.
Yeah, it's like, because we were talking about there was this, after Kanye went on like his rant and stuff, it was something that came out and they were like, oh, like Beyonce and Jay-Z are going to handle it internally, all this other stuff. And I'm over here like, how do we know? It's not said that they specifically said that. It came from like a source close to them. So I'm like, who is this source? We don't know who the source is. We can't rely that this source is even like creditable, and this whole thing where it's like, I would lean more towards, okay, I'm not trusting this. Just because you said somebody may have said something, in court that would be hearsay. So it's like, no.
Yeah, it goes back to like what I was saying about like how publications do have a certain like duty to the public, because like we are somewhat supposed to trust them, because like you can't expose your sources, because like it can one, put them in harm's way, and two, you might lose them as a source. So like a lot of times if like People's Magazine or like CNN or like, you know, publications that people really trust, you know, say things like, oh, we have a source, or this thing is being said, a lot of times that like in the world of like journalism, you would trust that, or just even as an audience member, you would trust that because you trust this publication, and you know, things like that. So like me, a lot of times I'm like, oh, this source says, and depending on who the publication is, I can like filter out and decide whether or not I want to trust them and what they're saying. There's always still a chance that it is wrong, but you know, like you know, sometimes you can either take it or leave it.
Yeah, I feel like if it becomes an issue of like maybe the source might be put in harm's way or anything like that, there are precautions that are taken like in court cases, especially like high profile ones. that kind of like protect those people, or even like how not every court case, like not every trial is like a jury trial. Like you could decide like, okay, only the judge is hearing this and the judge makes the final decision, as opposed to you're hearing it, there's a judge, but the jury is ultimately making the final decision. So yeah, but I feel like that conversation was an interesting way to show that like from our careers and like our standpoints, how that could like create our opinions, and we could end up having different opinions about things. Like I'm over here like, ain't nobody said that shit, and you're like, it's possible somebody said that.
It's possible. People, because like one thing that you learn about media is that like there's always a little truth to everything. There's always just a little bit of truth. Like even with conspiracy theories or rumors that it comes to, it may be like somebody completely twisted this and it's really just this simple little fact. Like this is something so silly.
Maybe
but like,
Diddy does practice magic.
Oh my God, no, that's a good example. I was gonna say that, like, you know, there's this whole like conspiracy theory that like, oh, Beyonce like killed somebody, right? And then like killed one of Jay-Z's mistresses, but she put it in a song. The song "Daughter" that comes right after Jolene is about her getting into an altercation with a woman. So I was just like, maybe she just got into a fight. Like maybe Beyonce just really got into a fight. Maybe she didn't kill the bitch.
Where is that elevator footage? Where is it? I need the audio.
And I have you know what? My theories aren't important, but like, you know, sometimes you can trust I feel like we should have a certain amount of trust in like certain publications. And like I should be able to trust certain publications. Like
I don't at all.
CNN, Fox, all that. Unless, but see, this goes back to what I was saying about like there should be some duty to the public, unless it is an op-ed, which an op-ed is literally an opinion. An op-ed is a journalist giving their opinion on something, which it seems like now most things are op-eds, but like we don't label them as that. Like we don't push them out to the public as like this isn't
start doing that before their videos. Influencers, op-ed.
Yeah.
Op-ed.
It's just op-ed.
Yeah.
But all right, guys.
6.
Yes.
6.
We're almost beating the statistic.
Yes. I hate that word.
Statistic.
Yes. It was just hard for me to say. It has been since a kid.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sad.
No. It didn't need to get that deep.
I couldn't say bandana for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Another one.
It had babies.
I didn't catch that one.
I don't know if the camera caught it, but Ant did some super ninja shit.
I caught that, and then I wasn't completely sure if I caught it.
She opened her hand, and it was still in it, and then
I caught it, and then slammed it on my leg. But I did use my hand sanitizer, so don't be out there thinking I'm just dirty.
She right under Harriet Tubman as bad as
I'm screaming.
But all right, y'all, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see y'all in
share.
Yep.
Ask us more questions.
Yeah, y'all questions are good.
Ask us those questions.
All right, y'all. We'll see y'all in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.